Don't get tied into that think out of the box. It's become a bit of a cliche today. You have to really mean it. And you have to do something just a little bit different, a tad different. You don't have to reinvent the whole wheel, but you should be doing something a little bit different than the existing business, because you have to give a reason for somebody to leave. And one of the biggest things that we found out in our last week or so of trying to find the open table for the beauty industry, waxings on demand, whatever you need, haircuts on demand, massages on demand, combining it all together, because one alone wasn't making sense. It wasn't adding up. The numbers weren't adding up. This is not like restaurants. There's 3 million restaurants. There's not 3 million nail salons that are out there. So you had to get it, merge it with a few other things. And then it turns out that 90% of the people that use these services go back to the same manicurist and hair person every single week. How many of you use the same hair cutter for a long time, by a show of hands? Okay, I would say that's about 80% of you. Okay, would you go somewhere else to get your hair cut if something happened to your person? Raise your hand if it's a yes.
What do you mean something happened?
If something happened to you, was on vacation, you had a wedding, and something that you did, wow, that's amazing loyalty.
That's why you gotta go to barbers at the place. This one's out. Go to the other one.
Right, no, I mean, that's amazing loyalty. So, that was one of the problems with making the open table for nail salons work. Okay? So busy doing research on our open table model that he missed half the conversation here. But anyhow, Lex has been working night and day with me, emailing me, trying to find that perfect thing, and he's enjoying reading some business plans. I've been giving him different business plans that I get to see what he thinks about it, because like I said, not everybody can do homeworks night and day. You have other classes. I appreciate that, Maybe some professors in Brooklyn College don't appreciate that you have other classes. You can't be thinking about this night and day. But a lot of you do want to think about this night and day. You've been thinking about this since you're 5 years old, about being your own boss and being your own man or woman and doing your own thing without having to reporting back to the man. And a lot of you are not wasting your time in this class. You're emailing me your questions, your thoughts, your comments to chapters, homeworks, and I'm feeding you more and more things. So, we're just talking about the last week, the emails back and forth. How many times a day have we been all emailing? 2, 3, 4 times a day? Okay? We don't have time to waste. This class is almost over. I'm here to help you. I'm here to try to find the next Zuckerberg. Who will that be? So I can make you super rich and make me a little bit richer. It's been the plan from the beginning. It's not been hidden. Okay, that's why I'm doing this class and this program. Catch up on your homeworks, get things done, and keep engaged. Keep things back to me. So we were just talking to class before you came in about some of the issues and problems with the open table for the beauty industry. Okay, we just did a focus group in the room, and we asked how many people would actually get their hair cut by somebody else if that person was not available.
Yeah.
And how many hands do you think went up?
No one.
No one? How about nails? How about if your nail person was not available? How many of you would use another manicurist? Show of hands. Okay, so not so fussy about that. Not so fussy. Okay, so maybe it's an anomaly to haircuts, color, blowouts, things like that. Maybe not so much for nails and waxings and other things like that. So we're getting pretty close, to some of the things that, that we're trying to put together. And one of the nice benefits about this class is that I can send this idea out to 3 or 4 of my smartest friends, which I did, to poke holes in it. I wanted to poke holes, and be the devil's advocate why this won't work. Of course I know why it will work, or else I wouldn't be wasting anyone's time if I didn't think it was going to work. Okay, so we've had a lot of guys try to shoot holes in this idea. Okay, namely, the big one is that this works for Open Table because in a lot of restaurants, and there's 2 million restaurants out there, this works for them because this is their only reservation system. They only have an Open Table idea. Okay, and a lot of people want to try different restaurants, different neighborhoods, different towns, so it's kind of like opposite to this idea, which is a real personalized service kind of thing. People ask me all the time, they say, how do you get your ideas? How do you know what's hot? What's doing out there? Wake up, smack you in the head. What's going on out there? I say, you know what? I'll give you my secret. Here's the secret sauce. When I want to find out what businesses and what trends and what thing is hot, I go through my DVR and I watch a ton of commercials. Okay? And I want to see what's the most played commercial, who's spending all this money. How do they have all this money to spend all this money? Something doesn't make sense, right? So we're going to go around the room. I'm not sure if you watch much television as much as me. And I do it just to stay a little smart. It's part of honing the skills. I'll fly through. I won't watch the shows. Sometimes I'll watch the shows. I'll stop it. But I'm racing through the commercials. All right? So between your Facebook feeds, your social media, and television, what do you think is the most advertised company or commercial or thing today? You just came in a little late. You want to catch your breath a second?
Yeah, give me a sec.
Okay, go ahead.
I've been seeing those dating sites.
Dating sites. What channel are you watching? Okay, Morgan, what do you think?
To be honest, I don't really watch a lot of TV, but
Okay.
whenever I do see it, it's mostly for, I don't know, I can't put a finger on it. I feel like I see Kaboom more than anything.
Kaboom.
That cleaning products.
Okay, so you watch
But
a
I
lot
may be
of
wrong.
commercial
I
channels,
don't really
things
watch
like
a lot of
that.
TV.
Okay.
Personally, I see Kia a lot on a lot of
Kia.
channels. Yeah.
So you see a lot of car stuff,
Mhm,
specifically.
But Kia specifically because I believe like they're all over TNT and they're associated with NBA, so it's like they promote them on different NBA channels and Progressive a lot. Definitely.
Sure, you know that obviously the TV spots are tailored to whatever you're watching, right? So sports stations, you're going to see a lot of cars and a lot of male-oriented kind of things.
Well, quite recently, I've been seeing a lot more technology ads. Like Samsung's coming out, so everybody else is coming around the time of like June, July, where all the new tech comes
Different
out.
new phones, different things like that. Okay, that jumps out at you. Okay, Megan, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree, like technology, but also like a lot of medications, like pharmacy, like medicines and stuff.
How many of you see a lot of pharmaceutical ads on TV? Okay, I can tell the ones who watch the news and who don't watch the news, okay? Yes, there's a lot of pharmaceutical type ads on, and again, it's geared on these like stations where you would expect a little older people are watching.
Yeah, definitely a lot of like on TV technology, like phones, cars, and then like she said, pharmaceutical companies. But on social media, like maybe Facebook, I've just been seeing a lot of like ads for clothes, like dress. I think it's called Dressily or something. I just keep seeing it pop up in my newsfeed.
Dressily?
I don't know, it's something Lily. I forget what it's called.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm interested to hear what the latest
Zoo-
It's on
Lily.
TV too.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Zoo.
Zulu?
It's like you can order clothes online or they
Never
send
shopped it,
you.
but
I try to find out what it is. I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear what's going on. What do you think, Tiffany?
Yeah, there's a lot of clothing reselling and bags, designer bags, resell your bag. So things get more customers involved.
Okay.
I see a lot of software type of ads, and then Amazon, and then other stuff like clothing shopping sites.
Good. You're watching a lot of TV. Alexis. No doubt.
I don't really watch standard TV, but my news feed, I see a lot of movie trailers and promotions for movies, especially like the Batman vs Superman that just came out.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
On
it's
the
all over
TV
the
ads.
place.
No doubt about that. No doubt.
Beverages?
Beverages, always like a number one category.
Yes, I also don't watch TV, but I listen to like Spotify and Google Music, and I hear a lot of beverages. I hear beer a lot on Spotify.
Right.
All the time I hear about beer, and also podcasts, like a big thing now. A lot of podcasts I'm hearing.
Okay, what do you think?
There were 3 Super Bowl ads for easy loans. online loans, different loan companies. SoFi was one. Made me nervous about the loan industry, but that really stuck with me.
Okay, huge category. But the biggest advertiser that drives me nuts, it's either following me on TV or it's the #1 TV ad in the history of television. Okay? It turns out it's one of the biggest television ads in the history of television. Okay? Drum roll, please. Any drummers in the room? Okay, I'll give myself a drum roll. Okay? Trivago. Anybody here ever hear of a company called Trivago? The guy with the gray hair and the beard with the Tommy Hilfiger kind of look going? That ad runs nonstop. So I had to look into this a little bit. How you spending $100 million a week in TV buys? It's impossible. What are you doing? Anybody here know what Trivago does?
It's a travel website. You can book hotel, flight, everything through that website.
You book hotel rooms. What do? They search all the other sites. So they're like a search engine of search engines. Something that I created many, many years ago when there was 30 search engines. I created the master search. My search engine searched all the search engines and popped up all the listings by Expedia, Yahoo. Google was just starting back then in 1996 when I came up with this idea. And Trivago does the same thing for rooms. It pops up what the price is, where you are, and they go to all the different websites and they just get a commission, 10, 15%. And they just slam the name non-stop, Trivago, Trivago, Trivago. Trivago has no products. None. They're like Uber. They don't have any products. They're a software company. They have this hotel, put this hotel up. So one of your projects is for next week is come to class. I want to hear your idea for Trivago for another industry. All right? Let's see if we can come up with something great that's like Trivago. Okay? Maybe I have to trim my beard down. Maybe I have to even go gray, God forbid. But, we'll have to star in those ads because there has to be something else besides Trivago if they're spending $100 million a week on TV. Okay? How many of you now know a little bit more about Trivago than you did before you came here today? You like the idea? You think it'll work for anything else? Or it's exclusive only to hotel rooms?
There was a guy who created an app with a similar idea. It was called Skip Lag. And what it basically did is you fly sometimes domestic or international for extremely cheap. The catch is that you're just on multiple connecting flights. So you can get a flight from New York City to Orlando, Florida for $80, but you have to get off at Boston, jump on another flight, and then get back on. So whereas the traditional flight would take 2 hours, that would take 5, but you'd have to save it.
Right, so I did a little more digging before this class. I said there got to be something else out there that's interesting. Because why come to this class if I'm not going to give you good information, right? So I found that there's a Polish company, and the whole website's in Polish. Anyone here speak Polish? Okay, I'm ready to pull out my money and pay a little bankroll. I gotta find out what the hell is going on this site. So here's what they do. Name your price that you want to pay for a room. And it works backwards. And the hotels then will tell you what they can give you because they know what their inventory is. So they're matching up. They're working it the opposite way. I thought that was brilliant. Like, here's what I'm going to pay. I only have $30. Who wants my room? Motel 6 in Schenectady? You want to take my money? You want to really sell me a room for $6? How many of you like that idea? Name your price that you'll pay for the room, and here's the room. You set it up Uber style, you pay for it, whether you show up or you don't show up, you bought that room already. Okay, so last week we hit the chapter on marketing, and I think it's important. The article I sent you, how many of you had a chance yet to read the Crane's 40 Under 40? One of my favorite issues in Crane's magazine. So these are the 40, at least according to Crane's, 40 most successful people under 40 and how they got there. Okay, it's a must. Take a quick read this week. Okay, so we're going to continue with our Young Entrepreneur series today, and we're going to talk a little bit about marketing. Okay. So marketing from our Young Entrepreneur series, everything that they said you must take into account, because there's all types of marketing, there's all types of branding. You can't do one without the other. Everything kind of works together. Okay, and you'll get to know that, especially in the age of social media, where you could geo-target your ads. So if I wanted to buy a radio station to promote whatever product or service I was in New Orleans, I can match the same thing on Facebook, radio, TV, and hit a demographic so hard in a certain area. So that's how people test their products today. They're able to really geographic, go into a neighborhood, see if things are going to work, and then branch out nationwide or worldwide with their idea. Okay, so we have a couple of students who are going to present their ideas today to the class before we have our guest speaker. And so let's hear it for Junior. Junior.
So yeah, for about 10 years already, I've been like heavily into culinary arts. I actually went to school upstate to study in culinary arts. And now I'm actually a part-time chef at a Hilton Hotel in Manhattan. So yeah, this is the idea I have. It's called Pick a Taco. And this is the reason why. It's actually, instead of a restaurant, it would be a food truck. And this is a little bit about the industry, the food truck industry. It's actually $1 billion industry. In addition to that, according to the National Restaurant Association, in the summer and spring, 1 out of every 4 individuals who pass a food truck actually purchase from it. It's an easy setup. It's the miscellaneous, the overhead expenses is not too extreme in comparison to restaurants, which could range from $50,000 to up depending on the area. I mean, there is high existing competition. You have these nut for nut carts, you know, different little carts, food trucks. You have halal stands everywhere. But one thing I noticed about the food truck industry is the lack of I would say brand identity. You know, when like we were seeing earlier in the video, Just Do It, you think of Nike. Honestly, could anybody here name 5 different food trucks? Exactly, basically. So you just know the halal guy, this and that. So there's no true identity. There's no brand that captures you, basically. So that's why I think there's a huge room for the industry.
How many of you are surprised that there's not many more food trucks around Brooklyn College by a show of hands? I don't know how the halal guy got away with this, having an exclusive on a food truck. Mm-hmm. You know, you go to Philly, you go to University of Pennsylvania, there's 50 or 60 trucks surrounding the school. So I'm shocked that that's something you should probably take up with your student council.
But real quick, who are we? Pick a Taco is a food truck that sells like a variety of tacos, and I don't mean necessarily chicken tacos, beef. I mean in terms of, I don't want to say multicultural, but it's different, you know, styles of tacos. But I'll show you the menu in a few. And where I actually want to locate my food truck is in Park Slope, because I'm a native of Park Slope, and actually the school that I want to actually park my truck by is where I went to elementary school at. And the mission is at Pick a Taco, we ensure that our customers intake an amazing experience from ordering to enjoying the unique dishes. We aim to have everyone eating in less than 5 minutes with a high-speed service. And remember, if you can't pick a taco, choose them more.
Okay. There goes a slogan for you. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a marketing plan. Everybody should know when you form a LLC, you actually have to advertise in 2 different newspapers. So 2 newspapers I actually chose are USA Today, which is actually the 2nd most read, I think, daily newspaper, and Brooklyn Daily Eagle, which is actually the most read newspaper in Brooklyn. Also Valpak, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Valpak by any chance, but they do direct marketing. So basically it's about approximately 1.5 cents to mail a blue envelope to a household.
How many of you have heard of Valpak before by a show of hands? Really? Anybody ever opened their mailbox? Well, no, probably not. It went away with the dial phones at home. Okay, so Valpak's an envelope. It's a blue envelope with somewhere north of 50 coupons. Each one of those are different vendors with coupons, and they're able to save. How Valpak makes money, the company is brilliant. So the postage is 41 cents. That's what an envelope costs, or is it 48 today? I'm not exactly sure, but they get probably 2 or 3 cents from each of those 50 people. So that dollar minus the postage cost, they make 50 cents per envelope. That's their business model. It's very simple. They've been around for 50, 60, maybe 100 years, the company. So it's shocking for those that don't know about it. But that's a little old school way to advertise.
Yeah, but when you're actually buying books, it obviously goes lower. So the total cost, so around $400 or $500 if you spend it, they could more or less send out mails to about thousands of households. So that's one little aspect I would utilize to market my own company. Also, social media. See, the whole thing about pick a taco, obviously you choose, but the whole wordplay about it would be actually pick a taco, take a picture. So the way I would actually get exposure is to actually, I'm gonna give out a reward. Basically, every day, somebody has a chance to get free tacos, one person. But to get that, you would actually have to take a picture of the taco that you chose and like link my company to it to expose it, basically. So everybody, if they keep exposing it or hashtagging it, it's gonna go and everybody's gonna know about it little by little. And in addition to that, it's just like she said, it's free marketing. In the video we just seen is free marketing, and everybody, you can just exploit it. So why not? So yeah, obviously word of mouth as well. So these are like some of the goals I actually set up. A minimum of 150 food items sold daily, which could possibly generate 18,000 to 25,000 monthly, depending. Expanding my menu according to customer choice after 6 months. And I actually put purchasing 2 more food trucks, but I also thought about a restaurant, which I could just expand the menu to a lot of tacos, different types that you probably never even seen or custom. And yeah, here's just a little list of what I have. The menu is actually contingent, I'm still working on it personally, but these are some of the items and some of the prices. If y'all want to just look for a little while and digest everything. Like I have jerk chicken style tacos. I don't know, anybody ever ate jerk chicken before?
Definitely.
But imagine eating it in a taco. It's a different, sweet teriyaki chicken tacos. That's why I said it was kind of multicultural, but I don't want to necessarily, place that kind of. All right, this was another one. This one costs the most because it's actually, I'm putting an extra amount of chicken in it. And in addition, all of these are actually in corn tortillas, besides this one, would actually come in a flour one. I have a veggie tacos for the veggie lovers, obviously. This is mofongo. Mofongo is the actual dish from the island of Puerto Rico, which is where I'm from. And it's actually when you saute plantains and then you kind of mix it up in like a wooden thing.
Sounds great.
You ever tried it before?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So you just mash it up with it depends what you want to do, garlic, onions, or whatnot. But I actually plan on doing something like that and putting it in a taco, just like kind of integrating those two styles together. All right. That's actually a picture of the teriyaki chicken tacos. It's probably not that clear. Yeah, actually I had pictures of the other one, but they weren't too clear, so I didn't want to put them up. All right, the primary competitors in the area is Brooklyn Bagel and Papa John's Pizza, which is actually across the street from the school as well. Well, these will be the main competitors. The thing about them is, for instance, Brooklyn Bagel, they have a menu that's literally 6 pages. And when people want to eat, sometimes, you don't want to go through a perplexing menu and, oh my God, what to buy? This all looks delicious. This is all enticing. That's why the whole thing about my thing is takeout. Come in, you come out, that's it. You got your money, you got your product. Not to sound malicious or anything. But in addition to that, the prices range from $1.99, but $1.99 is just like 2 eggs. That's nothing. to $14.99 sandwiches and paninis and whatnot. I'm not too sure if people want to spend that much, especially if they're hungry. I mean, if you have a large amount of disposable income like Ted, then possibly, yeah. But you know, I wouldn't want to just spend $14.99 on a sandwich. I don't know, that sounds absurd to me. We also have Papa John's, which similar to Brooklyn Davis, they do have a variety of things, but you know, simultaneously the prices are kind of $5.99. That's for chicken wings, and they supply about 4. So it's like, you know, why would I pay $5.99 plus tax and everything for like 4 chicken wings? I don't understand that. You know, I like to eat.
Great.
Right here, the Supply Food Service Direct. Most of the products that I'll actually be purchasing, you can find them here. And these are like basically the inputs that I would actually place, or how much it would cost for me to actually create a taco, how much I'm gonna put in. You know, I actually put 50 cents, but it's actually lower because 4 ounces is kind of a lot, especially for the corn tortillas because they're not too huge. So it would actually be less, but this is just a breakdown so you can see I would actually be upselling everything from about 2 to 3 times in between that range. So if I, you know, it would take me approximately $1.50 to create a taco. I'll sell it for 5 or 6 or 7 depending on which one it is or how much comes in it. These are actually the finances or what it takes to formulate an actual food truck. Some of these are actually variables because depending, I actually know people who cook or people who have food truck and I actually speak to them about, you know, creating a whole business. So depending on who I have as a business partner, you know, some of these are, you know, just variables. Like the food truck, for instance, $10,000, it comes with everything. I actually know a person who, he actually cooks for me as well in the Hilton Hotel, and he actually has his own food truck. So for instance, if he was a partner, $10,000, you know, so yeah, basically that's it.
Tremendous presentation. Certainly tacos, one of the most popular foods in the world, needless to say. I would think also food courts is another place you should be thinking about going into. Trucks, food courts, but I think, you know, you did a wonderful presentation today, all right? So thanks a lot.
I actually wanted to show you the logo that I actually drew up, but, you know, I didn't finalize it because the coloring, I was too picky. Hopefully it pops up because it wasn't allowing me to see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
sorry.
Brooklyn College's problem, definitely not yours, for sure.
All right.
Okay, good job. Okay, so today we have a very special speaker who is a native of Connecticut, but today she's here in Brooklyn. She's a transplant from Connecticut over to Brooklyn, who I recently met, but I found her to have one of the most interesting business ideas that I have ever heard. So I asked her to come be the guest speaker today at the class. So let's give it up for our guest speaker, Sara Nadel.
So, just take a minute. How many of you guys work also with this idea? How many of you guys work in jobs that are not related to your major? So I worked at Starbucks all through college, and I don't have the numbers for Starbucks, but I do. But take a minute and think about how much money is spent every single day hiring and training new employees at Burger King in America. Every single day. Think about if you guys ever worked in the food service industry, you might know what that looks like. Does anybody want to throw out a number?
For like 5 days of training.
Whatever their training process is.
So yeah, it costs about like $9,000 $9 per hour, 40 hours. Then $360 for training a guy.
Over the course of the week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a great, what's your name?
Shimon.
Shimon.
Yeah.
That's a great start. So that's part of the cost. There's also the cost of interviewing, publicizing, the food that the new employee ruins in their process, and then onboarding them into the system. There's some tax costs and stuff like that. So every single day, Burger King has about 365,000 crew members. Not just the company, because they're a franchisee. They're about 365,000 people who work at Burger King. And most of them leave once a year, which means that there are about 1,000 people leaving every single day.
Wow.
Now, Burger King's internal estimates are that it costs them $5,000 every time they have to hire and train somebody new. Which means every single day there's $5 million being spent hiring and training employees at Burger King. So that's a lot of money. And so my company, Stellar Employ, seeks to lower turnover in these types of jobs by matching job applicants to jobs where they're most likely to succeed and do well and stay for a period of time. And the way we envision this is a job search 2.0. So how did you guys get your jobs? Did you walk around? Anyone walk around and apply to jobs? Craigslist? Anyone do Craigslist? Indeed? Monster.com? You're the only one looking for a job around here. So we envision a world where instead of logging on and doing a keyword search, I'm looking for a job, I'm a business student, I'm looking for an internship, whatever. You log on and you fill out a 15 to 25 minute evaluation where you tell us a little bit about yourself. You tell us about your preferences. You tell us what motivates you to do well at work. You tell us when you can work, when you can't. We learn a little bit about your skill set, so it's a little bit of skill set evaluation. And then based on that outcome, we give you a list of jobs where we would love to recommend you. So if you're looking for that first job, in my case Starbucks, I wouldn't have to go around to every restaurant in Palo Alto, which is where I went to college. I could just, and submit a different application. I could just say who I was and they would say, listen, you're a good fit for Starbucks, you're really not a good fit for Bucati Bepos. So you don't want to work in such a fast-paced environment or something like that. And meanwhile, employers can log on, they can say, I need 3 more people for the Starbucks at Hillel, and we'll give them a list of people who we think, who are looking for a job who we think are going to do great. So we envision a job match where we're looking at people's underlying personalities and where they're likely to do well. So that's what the company does now. We're called Stellar Employ. But I want to tell you guys a little bit about how I got there. And I want to tell you a little bit about how I got there in the context of a very particular thing that I personally worked to learn and improve on. And the timing, we couldn't have timed this better because this class opened with Professor Leibowitz encouraging you guys to get in touch with him and ask him questions. And shortly around the time I was thinking about launching this company, I had the opportunity to hear Reid Hoffman give a speech. Do you guys know who Reid Hoffman is? You guys, anybody on LinkedIn? Reid Hoffman is the founder of LinkedIn. You should be. You should all be on LinkedIn. Reid Hoffman is the founder of LinkedIn. And before that, he was the founder of PayPal. Anybody use PayPal when you buy stuff online? And someone asked him what he found to be really useful. And he said that when he was an undergrad, he was at Oxford University, and he had a professor. He said this guy was the smartest guy I ever met. And he used to just walk around with a list of things he wanted to learn more about in the back of his head. He always had a couple things he was thinking about. And when he met someone who he thought could help him think through that process, he could ask them, oh, what do you think? I was thinking about this today on the subway. What's the biggest cause of delays on subways in the afternoon? Or what are they advertising most on TV? What's the overhead on, what was that company? Trivago, I wrote it down. And I actually think that that's a great way to move in the world, particularly when you're an entrepreneur, because we as entrepreneurs feel so much pressure and so much expectation to know everything, not only about our business, but about how to launch our business. And I have a lot of education. You guys are going to hear about it in a minute. But I don't know everything about accounting, legal. I don't know everything about managing people. I don't know how to do marketing. I don't know how to do PR. I can't do all of that and be the master of data-based hiring. And so if we can all as entrepreneurs become comfortable with the fact that we don't know everything, but we're surrounded by a world of people who do and who can help us, it's a much more comfortable way to walk in the world. And it gives you a great opportunity to improve on your concept as well and to really be entrepreneurs. So I'm going to tell you my backstory, and these are the key players. I can't even remember this guy's last name, and he was a key player in my life. These are the key players in my story. So when I was your age, I was studying international relations. I thought I wanted to work in the World Bank. That was my goal. I want to work abroad. I want to participate in economic development programs. And I always thought I would work at the World Bank. So I finished undergrad. I was very lucky. I got a job working for a company called Innovations for Poverty Action. And they do research abroad. They sent me to Peru. I had studied Spanish in college. I was not a native Spanish speaker. I studied Spanish in college. They sent me to Peru to do research. And I spent 2 years in Peru, traveling around the country, implementing development programs. So I was hiring surveyors. I was working, has anybody heard of microfinance? I was working on microfinance programs. And then Peru was a really interesting experience for a lot of reasons. But I realized I needed to learn more to get, my ultimate goal is World Bank. So I decided to go to grad school. I got very lucky. I got a full scholarship to the Harvard Kennedy School, which is a public school administration. And I got to go to Harvard. And because of that name, I got my internship, my dream internship with the World Bank that summer. So I go down to DC, I'm working at the World Bank. I'm working at a part of the World Bank called the International Finance Corporation. And they've hired me to participate in some research about microfinance, which I knew something about. So I get down there, brutal, just brutal. It was so slow, so bureaucratic. I couldn't get anything done. People meandered in at 9:30 in the morning they spent all day having networking coffees. They started powering down their 5-year-old computers at 4:30 so that they could leave at 5. I felt like these people aren't getting anything done. They haven't had the experiences I've had living and working in Peru. And they actually don't know. I want to move in a fast-paced environment. I like to move quickly. And this is not a good fit for me. So I go back to Harvard and I'm like, oh my God. And this is the fall of 2008. The economy is crashing all around me. And I'm like, what? I don't want to, I just spent the last summer investing in a job I really don't want. And now there's literally no jobs. Everyone I know is just gone laid off. So what am I going to do? Now, something interesting had happened when I was preparing to go to the World Bank. I went to my brother's sporting event. My brother had some type of game. He was in high school at the time. And I went to cheer him on, and I was talking to my parents about my summer internship. And this man named Thomas Berry says to me, "You're going to work at the World Bank this summer?" He says, "I sometimes do business with the World Bank." He said, "Oh, give me your phone number. I'll give you a call when I'm down in DC. I'd love to hear about your experiences with the World Bank." So, Thomas Berry, I don't know anything about him. Thomas Berry comes down to DC and we catch up. And it turns out that he has a company that does investing, co-investing with the World Bank, and he runs a couple of businesses in Latin America. At the time, we don't have a whole lot to say to each other because I still don't think I want to be a business person. I'm like, yeah, I want to live in Latin America and run social programs. But I thought, well, this guy clearly is good at something. He's really smart, so I'll keep in touch with him. So the World Bank, I've made my connection with Tom Berry. And I go back, I don't know what I'm going to do, the economy's crashing. And I got very lucky again. My advisor said, well, why don't you stay and do a PhD? You're not going to get a job anyway. Why don't you just stick around for a while? So I said, sure. I know I like data. I've been doing research for the past 4 years. Why don't I just do a little bit more research? So I stuck around. Now, so I do my PhD, and it comes time for me to choose a dissertation. Do you guys have final papers for your program at all?
Yes.
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 Okay. For this class or for this?
Yes.
Okay.
For this class.
So I thought, what am I curious about? I'm going to spend the next, on average, it takes someone 3 years to write a dissertation. I'm going to spend the next 3 years thinking about this. I've never done anything for 3 years. What do I want to think about? And I thought back to my experience in Peru. And one of the things that had really struck me about Peru is that Peru is a country that is growing really, really quickly. And most of the people who were maybe 10 years older than me when I was living in Peru hadn't really had jobs, formal jobs, most of their lives. They'd maybe worked in their parents' bodega, maybe driven a taxi. But suddenly the economy is growing quickly and there are a lot of companies that are hiring and they need to hire people who don't have any work experience. And people who are great employees but don't have any work experience are having troubles showing that they can do the job. So employers are saying, no thanks, we want someone with work experience. And these people are saying, are you kidding? All I want to do, I'm such a great employee, all I want to do is work, I'm so smart, and they can't get the job. And that's hard for both because companies can't hire the people that they want to hire. So I started thinking, well, so from an economic, from a really academic standpoint, this question is called the skill set signaling problem. So I'm thinking, okay, so I'd like to research skill set signaling. What happens if I can come up with a way to show that these people are really good employees? Any of you guys ever get you're not experienced enough, like looking for summer jobs? So these people are really hard workers and they know what they need to know for this job. So I started looking at the idea of implementing a program where we do evaluations and then we say to employers, trust me, this guy's really good, this guy's really good. And I realized I had written a business plan. I hadn't written a dissertation, I'd written a business plan. And remember, I was bored in international development. And I was thinking that everything was moving too slowly. I'd now spent 4 years at Harvard, I hadn't been abroad. And I was like ready to pick it up. And so I go back to Tom Berry and I say, listen, I wrote this business plan to do evaluation of employees for jobs in emerging markets. What do you think? And he said, you know what, I have businesses in India and I have businesses in Kenya that could really use that. I think this is a great idea. I think you should go back to Peru and spend the summer launching this company and see what happens, and I'd like to invest in your company.
Can you tell us when was that?
When was this? It was May of 2012. May of 2012. Now this is based on the fact that I'd had coffee with Tom Berry maybe every 6 months for 2 years. And every time I'd say, this is what I'm learning, this is what I don't know. What are you doing? What do you think is interesting to you right now? Where's your attention going? And he knew me after 2 years and he said, you're an interesting thinker, I think this is an interesting idea, so you should go. So suddenly I have my first investor. Now, I made a mistake. People look at how much money that he has, what a percentage of the company he has, and they're like, you gave him way too much of your company. And I'm like, are you kidding? I didn't know what I was doing. I wouldn't have launched this company if it wasn't for him. He can have a whole company as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, I have him. So now I have 4 months. I'm still living in Boston. I'm getting ready to go down to Peru. And so I have questions. I'm thinking of questions. What are the things that I would like to know more about? And I start thinking about, okay, well, how does evaluation typically work right now when you're hiring people? What do employers do when they're trying to hire people? Do they care? And another thing, and this is something that is not part of my business anymore, do they care about validating people's work experience? Do they care about making sure that someone's CV is correct? Do they care about where they go to school? So around this time, I meet Becca Gallenberg. Becca Gallenberg is the maid of honor at my friend's wedding. I've never met her before. We're standing around during the cocktail hour after the wedding, and I start talking to her. I quickly realize, she's really somebody I don't think I have a whole lot in common with. She lives in Arizona. I've never lived in Arizona. She's kind of quiet. We're kind of not clicking. And then she says, oh, I work in HR at General Electric. At the time it was General Electric. And I said, oh, click. What do you guys do when you're evaluating? How do you guys hire people? What do you guys do when you're looking at people's backgrounds? And she said, oh, well, we have this system and we have this system, and she tells me a bunch of stuff, and I said, wow, that's really interesting. And suddenly she perks up because she's interested in this too, right? And I said, yeah, you know, I'm thinking about launching this company. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I have this idea. I'm kind of batting it around. What do you think? And she said, you know, I don't really know about Peru. She said, why don't we keep in touch? So now I have Becca Gallenberg rooting for me as well. I go down to Peru. So I arrive in Peru. Like first day round 2 in Peru. I don't have anything. I don't have a plan at all. I'm like, wake up and I'm like, I'm just gonna go talk to people. So, I don't know. So, you know, I mean, I'm maybe playing down my preparation a little bit, but I really didn't know what I was doing. So I go to my old employer, and I kind of knock on their door, and I was like, hey, I'm back. Can I kick around here for a while and take advantage of your internet? And they were like, sure, you know, here's a desk, do whatever you want to do. And I just start calling all the people that I used to know when I lived in Peru. What are you guys doing? Can I buy you a coffee? So during this time, there's this guy, Mike, whose name I still don't even remember. Mike works at IPA now. He's American. I never worked with him before. And he would like to apply to grad school at Harvard. So he says to me, Sarah, I'm really interested in your experiences applying to grad school. Can I buy you a coffee? I said, sure. So I'm going into this coffee thinking it's going to be about him. And slowly I realized he knows a lot about data analysis. So then we kind of start talking about data analysis, and we develop this connection. So I'm going to jump, now I'm like into day 2 of my company, and I'm probably 18 minutes into my presentation. So I'm going to jump ahead for a while. So I end up starting to talk to a lot of employers. I'm doing these evaluations. I'm evaluating college kids just to make sure that we have an evaluation that works. I offered some free evaluations to a local college. And pretty soon I could say, okay, I've evaluated 300 people, and this is what we've learned. They're all kids like you, you guys are kids. They're all young adults like you. They're all looking for jobs, and they want to know their own abilities. But then I start taking it to employers, and it turns out employers are like, well, you know, they're like, who are you guys? We had launched our company. Our company was called Farolito. What is it?
What did you say? What?
Farolito.
What?
Farolito. Little lighthouse. Farolito.
Yeah.
Peruvian Spanish.
Definitely.
Little lighthouse. So we're lighting up information. We're identifying information on people. So they're going, who the heck is Farolito? That's so weird. And I don't know what this test is. What are you guys talking about? So we're like, man, that was a mistake. So then we started trying to sell to employers. So over the next year and a half, we changed our company 15 times. And I actually ended up writing my dissertation about how much I changed my company. But we're constantly learning, we're constantly getting feedback. I'm about a year and a half in, and I call and I send an email on whim to Becca Gallenberg, and I said, hey Becca, I just want you to know, these are the things that I've been up to. This is what we're doing. We've at this point evaluated 1,500 people. We're still kind of trying to figure out sales, and one of the things that I'm having trouble with is figuring out, I'm selling to heads of HR, and their incentives are to look really good to the COO. And I can't figure out how to solve their problem. So I'm selling them a good evaluation and lower turnover, but what's the number they need to show to the COO? And what are the graphs that they want for their monthly reports? And so I said, can we talk? Can you give me some advice about this? So we got on the phone, and at the end of the call, she says she's moved, she now works at Google. She's the head of talent analytics at Google. And she says, you know what? She said, I'd like to invest in your company. I think you're doing something really interesting. Girl sitting at a bar at a wedding, now I have investor number 2. And she's supporting us, and she's really interested in talent analytics. Now around that time, I'm back in the US, and I give Mike a call. Mike is now working for a group in the US that supports entrepreneurs abroad. And he's still working on, he's decided to postpone applications for 2 years. So I call him, I say, how are your applications going? We get coffee. And suddenly I realized that in his US incarnation, he's been working with a lot of international companies that are having a lot of the problems I'm having. dealing with the most boring stuff in the world. Registering, it took me 9 months to register my company in Peru, getting permission to work abroad, dealing with international taxes, getting a lawyer, all this stuff. And suddenly, and I'm like, man, you know so much about this. Do you have any ideas? Do you have any people you can connect me to? And he said, well, you know what, I know this guy, Andres. I know this guy, Andres Barreto, who you should talk to. Andres Barreto. You guys has anyone ever heard of Groove Shark? Yeah, you guys were like in 5th grade when Groove Shark came out. So Groove Shark was a precursor to Spotify. It was this website that you could go online and you could go to Groove Shark and you could say what you wanted to listen to, and it would scrape, like Professor Lewis was talking about, it would scrape every YouTube, everything online, and pull it all together and you could listen to it. It was totally illegal. So Andres doesn't like it when I call him the founder of Groove Shark, but that's what he is. He's the founder of Groove Shark. He's Colombian American. He really likes supporting companies. He sold Groove Shark, he started another company, he made a lot of money. He really likes supporting companies that hire people in Latin America. And Mike said, oh, you should talk to Andres because he's gonna know a lot more about this. So then I talked to Andres. And I say, Andres, I'm having a lot of trouble with, my lawyer stuff. I can't figure this stuff out. He gives me some advice. Then he says to me, what is the one metric that you're improving every single week? And I kind of was like, I don't know. I'm trying to make money every single week. And he said, no. You need to focus. What is the one metric that you are working on every single week? And again, I said, well, I don't know. It could be number of clients. It could be income, revenues. It could be like number of tests because we keep price differently for different clients. And he was like, Sarah, you are talking like a PhD and you are not talking like an entrepreneur. You need to figure out what is the one thing you are going to focus on, and you need to learn how to focus. And it was really embarrassing, for one thing, to have that conversation. And that's another thing you have to get used to, and I had to get used to as an entrepreneur. And Andres became a mentor and also an investor. And I had another phone call with Andres last week, and you know what? He said basically the same thing. He was like, what is the one thing you are trying to do? And I said, I don't know, I need your help. That's why I'm talking to you right now. So suddenly Mike has given me, this guy who Bobby Poppy asked me to find out is giving me another person. How much time do I have?
Probably about 5 minutes.
Okay, great. So this is how I built up my coterie of people. We have a client base in Peru. We're doing evaluations for companies. We're lowering turnover. We have demonstrated lower turnover. And we found something really cool, which is that it's not just the skill sets. It's not just skills that make someone a good worker. It's what their preferences are. It's what they like. And you could be a good worker at, we actually worked with 2 companies that were competing to be the Home Depot of Peru. So they looked almost exactly the same. They sold exactly the same stuff. They were priced exactly the same. They almost had stores right across the street from each other. Turns out the types of people who did well in each of those stores were really different. And that had to do with the incentive structures of those stores, with the way they paid people. And so then we realized something really cool. It wasn't just evaluating for companies. This is where we could do this mix and match. And this is where we could generate efficiencies by building up a bunch of applicants who are just looking for a job and a bunch of employees who are looking to hire. So this is, suddenly we've hit on our model. We have our investors and advisors, and we decide to expand because Peru is not a big market. There's only about 12 million people who work in Peru. And so Andres actually convinces me to go back to the US. He says, it's very difficult to make sales in Latin America. It's a totally different beast. He said, what are you maximizing? And I said, number of paid evaluations per week. And he said, good. Are you going to get more in Peru or in the US? And I said, the US. And he said, go home. So I decided to go home. And, but there was something that really bugged me, which is that I had a team in Peru. I had 3 employees. I loved my employees. And they loved our company, they loved Fairleigh. And I stayed up nights thinking about what was going to happen to them. And I'm feeling like a failure. But I had met this guy, Guillermo de Vivanco, he's a Peruvian, who was launching an angel investor network in Peru. And he had said to me a long time ago, he had said, you should come and pitch to the network. And I, and I'm thinking this day is coming up, and I'm like, why am I going to pitch to the Caribbean Investor Network? I just decided to move back to the U.S. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to tell them I'm moving back to the U.S. My story is a failure story. It's not a success story. But I thought, I'll just see. You never know who's going to be at these things. They told me there's going to be 50 people. You just never know. So I prepared a great pitch, went down there, pitched, and got no investors, no investor meetings, in fact. But I did get this one guy, Alvaro Coyas, came up to me and he said, I'm a partner at a big headhunting firm in Peru. I want you to meet my friend, Carlos, who's an entrepreneur. And 9 months after that first meeting, on February 29th, Monday, February 29th of this year, Alvaro and Carlos signed a licensing agreement with me to take over Peru operations. And they are giving my staff jobs, and they are going to pay me here. They are a U.S. company for use of our licensing, for use of our technology, for use of our test and our algorithm. So you really just never know what's going to happen. And so now I'm launching in the U.S. I'm launching Stellar Employ, called Stellar Employ, and I just wanted to give you one final example. I had a phone call last week with this guy named Don Fox. You guys ever eaten at Firehouse Subs? I don't even know if it's around here. I've never eaten at Firehouse Subs. Firehouse Subs is one of the fastest growing, most respected fast food places, industries, companies in the U.S. They're doubling in size over the next 3 years. Don Fox has won a lot of awards. He's the CEO. He's won a lot of awards for management. And someone got me on the phone with him to see if he would like to buy our product. And I get on the phone with him and I tell him about what we do. And he says to me, you know what, Sarah, our turnover is less than half industry. This doesn't make sense for us. And I'm like, I really need this sale. And then I realized, oh, well, I have a lot of questions in the back of my head about how to lower turnover and what are the best practices. And so I picked myself up and I said, okay, Don, why do you think your turnover is so low? And he said, I think it's because we're really clean. We have a really clean operation. He said, I think it's because we're really careful about where we put our stores. And he told me a lot of things that I thought were really interesting, that then I took and mentioned and said, I can say to someone else, well, industry experts say that another reason to lower turnover is to think very carefully about what your hiring pool is and to make sure that the job looks attractive. And then at the end of the call, I said, Don, this was great. Is there someone else I can talk to? And he said, oh yeah, I have a buddy who's launching a QSR in Arizona. I can talk to him. But I couldn't have done that if I felt horrible about the fact that I couldn't have sold to him. And I think that basically for me, the hardest thing I've had to learn is how to not be embarrassed about being wrong all the time and how to not think about everyone expecting me to be right and everyone I can learn from. And take advantage of people like your professor who are saying, email me the question. And that's it.
I have the first question. Quick question. Let's hear it for Sarah. Very spectacular. Sarah is very, very humble. She not only went to Harvard, but she went to Stanford undergrad. So she's really a stellar employee, as we know. Could you just tell what the business model is to the class? How you make money?
Oh yeah,
very
sure.
simply.
Sorry.
What's the revenue? What's your expense?
Right over that.
Just very simply.
Yeah. So we charge locations, stores, $50 a month. So it's different between the U.S. and Peru, and that's one of the reasons we have a licensing group. In the U.S., we charge stores $50 a month to have access to our applicant pool. And we will publicize the job for them. We'll do two things. We'll publicize the job for them, and we'll give them a sign they can put in their window that says, if you want to work here, go to this website. And when the managers will tell us, listen, I'd like to do all of my interviews between 1 and 2 p.m. on Thursdays. And we'll do the preliminary filter, and then we'll say to the applicants, listen, we think you're going to be a great fit for job X. Why don't you call the manager at this number at 1 p.m. on Thursday? And so the applicants have gotten access to an interview really quickly, not the sort of back and forth that you typically see. They know, okay, Thursday 1 o'clock I'm going to make this phone call. I know I'm going to like this job because they've explained to me why. And the interviewer can just set aside 1 hour a week to do their hiring. And it's $50 a month, so it's a SaaS model. Are you guys familiar with that concept? Software as a service is when you pay a regular fee for access to a website. It's a SaaS model, and it's competitive with things like Craigslist or Snagajob or any of the other companies that you might see out there.
Okay, and it's just not a per employee, just a flat fee. So for a McDonald's or a Burger King or Dunkin' Donuts, each store would pay a fee, or would be a franchise fee?
Yeah,
or?
so it's for each location, but we typically work with franchisors who have a lot of locations.
I see.
So if they have 20 locations, it would be 20 times 50.
Right, which is much cheaper than the normal employment agency model
Totally.
that gets a percentage of the salary or something.
Totally, and in fact, we're doing less. So, well, we're typically these companies are doing kind of on their own, and they're just accepting employees, or they're just basically accepting applicants. They typically hire. I got my job at Starbucks because I walked in when the manager was there, and I was like, "Are you guys hiring?" The manager was like, "Yes." But if the manager wasn't there, I wouldn't have gotten that job. So there's a lot of hiring that happens in an ad hoc way at this level, and so we help them streamline, and they don't lose applicants because they don't happen to be there. But they're not really comparing us to like a Manpower or anything like that does full staffing. They're typically comparing us to online announcement services.
Sure. How many of you like this idea and would like to invest in her company? Okay, we have great validation over here.
That's
And we have
great.
room for another question or two. Okay?
Yeah.
Is there a fee if we wouldn't want to register with you guys?
No, there is no fee. It's free for applicants. Yeah. So right now, and this is a little bit connected to rolling out very carefully. Right now, the way you get into our system is if you apply for a job with one of the companies that's using us. So it's not open, and that's really to save you time. Because we got I don't think actually that we have any jobs in this area. So if you were to log it, do the whole thing, it wouldn't be that helpful. But ultimately, it will always be free for applicants. There's back and forth. Yeah.
There are many companies that do the same thing, right?
There are many companies that are online job boards, and there are many companies that do evaluation. To my knowledge, there are not a lot of companies in the hourly job space, which is what we do. So we work with companies that are hiring a lot of people at once, that are using one evaluation as a mix and match service.
Oh, so you're focusing on a certain sector?
We're focusing on a certain sector because we're really big data analytics.
So that's how you differentiate yourself from other.
Yeah, you have to start small as well, and so we decided to be very focused on where we start.
I think they're thinking about operating in another country because
I think that, it's not, as an entrepreneur, it's not great to have your attention split. And the Peru operation, so the company that's running the Peru operations has a license over all of Latin America. And they actually have written into their contract that if they don't get to Colombia and Brazil in 3 years, we can take back that license. Someone just approached me last week about India, and I was so cool. But I need to attend to it. I need to be careful about how I allocate my time. Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it for Sara.